Broadcasting from beautiful downtown Tallahassee, it's Nantan Lupan.
Welcome to today's show. My name is John. As always, you can subscribe to the show on iTunes or follow the links to social media in the podcast show notes. Today we have the final of our back-to-school movies for the month of August, and it's a pretty funny college flick. I don't like to do movies that are this new, but it's a pretty good finish to the series. Today's show is episode 36, Back to School 1986, starring Rodney Dangerfield and a stellar comedic cast. Rodney Dangerfield played Thornton Mellon, the son of an immigrant that followed the American dream. Dangerfield was born in New York in 1921. He tried his hand at comedy from a young age, and he was one of the few people that could make stoic Ed Sullivan laugh. However, his career did not really take off. He was living a pretty normal middle-class life until the late 1950s. He took the name Rodney Dangerfield and began working the I Get No Respect bit, and he became a very successful comic. His first role was in The Projectionist, 1971. In 1980, he shined in Caddyshack as Al Cervic, who takes on the old money people at a fancy golf club. In Easy Money, 1983, he was an average guy who suddenly became rich. This was followed by Back to School, 1986. He had his first dramatic role in Natural Born Killers, 1994. IMDb states that he was the first entertainer to have a website on the World Wide Web in 1995. He was in Meet Wally Sparks 1997 and played the devil in Little Nicky 2000. He died on October 5, 2004, after falling into a coma following heart surgery. Sally Kellerman was cast in the role of Diane Turner. Kellerman was born in California in 1937. With a youthful interest in acting, Kellerman attended Hollywood High. But here comes the rub. Kellerman was 5'10" with a gawky frame and a very large mouth. As a newcomer, she almost received the lead role in St. Joan, 1957, which we reviewed in episode 29. Instead, she was cast in Reform School Girls, 1957. Through the 1960s, Kellerman found roles on television, one of which stands out for me. In the second pilot for Star Trek, Where No Man Has Gone Before, 1966, she was transformed into a god as the love interest of Gary Lockwood of 2001: A Space Odyssey and The Magic Sword 1962, which we reviewed in episode 24, who also became a god. As a reminder, Paul Fix was also in this Star Trek episode. She continued to act and produce music. Quite frankly, only a couple of movies are worth mentioning at this time. In 1970, Kellerman was cast as Major Margaret Houlihan, a.k.a. Hot Lips, in MASH.
Oh, Frank, my lips are hot. Oh, kiss my hot lips. Oh, hot.
In one of her pivotal scenes, the wall of the shower tent is dropped to reveal a totally nude Houlihan. However, Kellerman kept dropping to the ground too quickly. For the take that made it into the movie, director Robert Altman had the entire film crew disrobe without Kellerman knowing. When the wall was dropped, she paused to try and process the sight, and then dropped to the ground. Cut and print. Of course, the other film is today's episode. Kellerman continues to sing and act. Burt Young was cast in the role of Lou, Thornton Mellon's driver and companion. Young almost always played a character that is rough around the edges and tough as nails. Young was born in New York in 1940 and studied acting under Lee Strasberg at the Actors Studio. Young's tough guy roles include The Gang That Couldn't Shoot Straight 1971, Chinatown 1974, The Gambler 1974, and The Killer Elite 1975. In 1976, the movie that would change his life was released. In Rocky 1976, he was cast as Stallone's future brother-in-law, Paulie. He was cast in the sequels 2, 1979, 3, 1982, 4, 1985, 5, 1990, and Rocky Balboa 2006. In 1978, he was in Convoy as Trucker Pigpen. On the cab of his door was the phrase, Paulie Hauling. Although I have to say, I enjoyed the song a lot more than the movie. Other tough guy movies for Young include Once Upon a Time in America, 1984, The Pope of Greenwich Village, 1984, Last Exit to Brooklyn, 1989, Mickey Blue Eyes, 1999, and The Adventures of Pluto Nash, 2002. Keith Gordon was cast in the role of Jason Mellon, the son of Thornton. He was playing the tough guy loner that was very popular at the time. Gordon had a total of 26 roles. He has been busy directing and producing since. Robert Downey Jr. played the role of Derek Lutz, the only friend of Jason Mellon. This summary would have been easy to write when the movie was made, but not so much now. Downey was born in 1965 to an actress, Ann Ford, and a drug addict, Sr. Jr. was exposed to both pursuits early in life. He moved to California with his father after his parents' divorce. In 1982, he left school and became a full-time actor. His first role was in Pound, 1970, one of his father's vehicles, but most people wouldn't remember him until around the time of Weird Science, 1985. In 1987, he played a role that would parallel his own life, Less Than Zero. In 1992, he was great in Chaplin. He played a journalist in Oliver Stone's Natural Born Killers, 1994. In 2001, Downey moved to the hugely successful Ally McBeal television show. Drugs, arrest, and rehab resulted in him being fired, and it seemed his career was over. However, in 2003, he cleaned up and started working again. He took on difficult roles like Gothica, 2003, A Scanner Darkly, 2006, Good Night and Good Luck, 2005, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, 2005, and Zodiac, 2007. And then it all went crazy. In 2008, he was cast as Iron Man. That same year, Tropic Thunder was released, finding Downey playing an Australian method actor in blackface. The next year brought Sherlock Holmes, 2009. This was followed by Iron Man 2, 2010, Due Date, 2010, Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows, 2011, The Avengers, 2012, Iron Man 3, 2013, and Avengers Age of Ultron, 2015. Captain America Civil War and Sherlock Holmes 3 are in production. Terry Farrell was the love interest Valerie Desmond. Farrell was born in 1963 and began modeling at 17. Besides a handful of movies she's been in, she also played Jadzia Dax in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, 1993. Emmet Walsh was in the role of the swimming coach, Coach Turnbull. Walsh was born in New York State, but he is regularly cast as a Southerner. He has had 215 television and movie roles where he usually plays a small, quirky part. Some of his large roles include the oil can sniper in The Jerk 1979 with Steve Martin.
He hates these cans! Stay away from the cans! Die, gas pupper!
Dickie Dunn in Slapshot 1977, Blade Runner 1982, and Raising Arizona 1987. Roger Ebert created the Stanton-Walsh rule, which states any film starring Walsh or Harry Dean Stanton has to have some merit, and the M stands for Michael. Adrienne Barbeau was cast as Vanessa, Thornton's current wife. Barbeau was on Maude 1972, which was a spin-off from All in the Family. Being married to John Carpenter for a time, she did a lot of horror, including Someone's Watching Me 1978, The Fog 1980, Escape from New York 1981, and Swamp Thing 1982. William Zabka played Chaz, the nemesis of Jason Melton. Born in New York City, Zabka specialized in playing jerks in movies such as The Karate Kid 1984, National Lampoon's European Vacation 1985, and Back to School 1986. Ned Beatty played Dean David Martin. Beatty's first role was Deliverance 1972. That's right, squeal like a pig.
Squeal, squeal louder, louder.
He's actually a very good actor. He was nominated for an Oscar for Network 1976. Beatty also did a fine job in Nashville 1975, The Deadly Tower 1975, Silver Streak 1976, and as Lex Luthor's assistant Otis in Superman 1978 and Superman 2 1980. Severin Darden played ape researcher Dr. Barzini. Born in New Orleans in 1929, Darden is best known as an actor and writer for Battle of the Planet of the Apes, 1973, and Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, 1972.
I'm trying to teach these here apes how to read and write.
You ought to teach them how to go to the bathroom. That's the first thing you ought to do.
Now that's funny. Sam Kinison played History Professor Turgidson. I guess they borrowed that from Dr. Strangelove. Anyway, Kinison was an over-the-top comedian. At one point, he had been a preacher. Unfortunately, he died in 1992 as a result of a car wreck. Famous author and anthropologist Kurt Vonnegut Jr. was cast as himself. Vonnegut was born in 1922. He was captured in late December 1944 during the Battle of the Bulge while a scout for the 106th Infantry Division. He was sent to a POW camp in Dresden, Germany, and was there during the Allied firebombing campaign. This experience formed the basis for his novel, Slaughterhouse-Five. Story. The story begins with young Thornton Maloney, Jason Hervey, bringing home a bad report card to his immigrant tailor father. Hervey does a great job imitating the nervous tics of Rodney Dangerfield. Thornton wants to go into the family business, but his pops, like Patches' father, believes education is key. As the years fly by, Thornton is shown opening his tall and fat clothing stores. He eventually becomes very wealthy and changes his name to Mellon. In his commercial, he asks, "Are you a large person? Pleasantly plump? A little on the hefty side, perhaps? Well, let's face it, are you fat? When you go jogging, do you leave potholes? When you make love, do you have to give directions? At the zoo, do elephants throw you peanuts? Do you look at a menu and say, okay?" Thornton's son Jason is away at Grand Lakes University, where he is supposedly in a fraternity and on the dive team. Jason cancels a visit home, seeming not to want to see his new stepmother, Vanessa, Adrienne Barbeau. When Thornton goes home, Vanessa is putting on the dog for her socialite friends using Thornton's money. She hates Thornton for his crudeness. After he catches her with one of the visitors, they decide a divorce is in order.
We was just looking for some cocktail napkins.
Where? Under her dress?
You're impossible.
You're easy.
She plans on taking half of everything he has until he shows her a set of Polaroid pictures exposing her illicit affairs. One of the pictures purportedly includes a midget. Thornton laments to his driver and bodyguard, Lou, Burt Young, that he never should have let Vanessa come between him and Jason. He decides to drive to the university to surprise his son. It turns out that Jason is not in the frat and is only the towel boy for the dive team.
I looked for you at that fraternity house. They said you weren't a member.
Well, I can explain that.
They also told me not in the diving team. They said you were the towel boy.
Well, I can explain that too.
Okay, explain it.
I lied.
He is constantly taunted by champion diver Chaz Osborne, William Zabka. Jason has only one friend, Derek Lutz, Robert Downey Jr., and Lutz has no friends. Jason tells his father that he is planning on dropping out. In a flash of inspiration, Thornton decides to join his son at the university to keep Jason in school. Thornton never finished high school and he is getting stonewalled on his admission. He has a meeting with Dean Martin, Ned Beatty, and Martin asks him how he could possibly admit an unqualified student. The scene cuts to a groundbreaking ceremony for the new Thornton Mellon School of Business. Thornton's donation makes an enemy of Dr. Philip Barbeau, Paxton Whitehead, who is the dean of the business school. Thornton does not get off to a good start in Barbeau's class because he has real-world business experience.
Oh, and don't forget a little something for the building inspectors. Then there's a long-term course, such as waste disposal. I don't know if you're familiar with who runs that business, but I assure you it's not the Boy Scout.
It gets worse when Thornton takes a romantic interest in Barbeau's girlfriend, literature professor Dr. Diane Turner, Sally Kellerman.
Surely a man of your age and experience must have read some of the things on my list. What about Macbeth?
I saw the movie. Orson Welles. Great actor. Big actor. He was a tall and fat customer for years.
How about Cat on a Hot Tin Roof?
I saw the movie Burl Ives. Great actor. Extra stout. He was a customer, too.
Streetcar Named Desire.
Great movie. Marlon Brando. I'll tell you, he wasn't that big then, but he ballooned up nicely. I'd say pound for pound, our finest American actor.
Thornton meets his Vietnam-crazy history professor, Dr. Turgison, Sam Kinison.
Now, can someone tell me why in 1975 we pulled our troops out of Vietnam?
The failure of Vietnamization to win popular support caused an ongoing erosion of confidence in the various American but illegal Saigon regimes.
Is she right? Because I know that's the popular version of what went on there. I know a lot of people like to believe that. I wish I could, but I was there. I wasn't here in a classroom, hoping I was right, thinking about it. I was up to my knees in rice paddies with guns, and then we're going up against Charlie, slugging it out with him, while pussies like you were back here partying, putting headbands on, doing drugs, listening to the goddamn Beatle albums.
As Thornton becomes the big man on campus, Jason is scooped up in the action. He begins macking on Valerie Desmond, Terry Farrell, a girl that Chaz has been dating. Thornton talks to the dive coach, Emmet Walsh, and they talk about their time on the Jersey Steel Pier.
What's the guy your age doing here with these kids?
I'm looking for the fountain of middle age. What's your story?
I'm set the new record for the most consecutive losses by a diving coach in this conference.
Thornton states that he is the one that used to do the Triple Lindy, a legendary dive that almost killed him. The coach gives Jason another tryout and he makes the team. Jason begins to fall out with his dad because of his partying and lack of studying. Thornton hires NASA to do his astronomy and Vonnegut to write a paper on Vonnegut. Diana rejects Thornton's Vonnegut paper, saying that the person that wrote the paper doesn't know anything about Vonnegut. She gives him an F.
And another thing, Vonnegut, I'm going to stop payment on a check.
Later that night, Jason is told by Chaz that his father bought his way onto the swim team. He drunkenly punches Chaz and disappears. Dr. Barbeau finds out what Thornton has done and forces Dean Martin into hosting an oral exam for Thornton. Thornton wants to quit, but Jason comes back and convinces him to stay. They go into a marathon cram session with Jason, Derek, Lou, and Diana that plays like a training scene from Rocky. The day of the oral exam is the same day as the big swim meet, and if Thornton fails any part of the test, he will be expelled from the university. Dr. Barbeau begins the test with only one question, in 27 parts. When Thornton weakens, he is urged on by Dr. Turgison. Finally, Diana asks Thornton to interpret Dylan Thomas's poem, Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night.
Rage! Rage against the dying of the light!
Thornton, what does that poem mean to you?
It means I don't take shit from no one.
He finishes the exam. Thornton goes to the swim meet, and Lutz is using mirrors and air horns to distract the other team. Chaz has a bad dive and then fakes cramps to get out of another try. The swim coach needs another diver, so he brings a reluctant Thornton up to do the triple Lindy.
What? Oh, not a chance. What a shape I'm in. You could donate my body to science fiction.
Get your suit on!
This is a must-see movie scene. After a few arm farts, Thornton nails the dive and the team wins. Diana is there to greet him with the news that he passed with all D's and 1 A from her. The movie ends with Thornton giving an address to the graduating class that advises them to move back in with your parents. Let them worry about it. Now I know why my kids won't move out. World famous short summary: high school students are bastard people, but college can be fun if you have enough money. If you enjoyed this week's show, please tell your friends, and if you really want to help, drop over to iTunes and give me a review. If you want to comment, recommend a movie, or just say hi, follow the links in the show notes to my site. Beware the Moors.